शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। So in short, so yesterday we discussed about the main the how what is the core of knowledge source in this land in Bharat, and how does even such as Nastika traditions also have a indirect root. I mean, they again lead back to the Vedas, the existence of Vedas, right? And the other allied anything and everything that is allied somewhere or the other, you find a relation towards the Vedic core. Okay. And some are substitute, some are complementary kind of a thing. So there is a very vibrant structure of knowledge. And in all this, we should not even forget the local, the knowledge sources that have developed locally. So if you see um, you know, the bhajana sampradayas, so each and every state has again a very localized, knowledge source. Like do you know the Varkari Sampradaya? Have you heard of Varkari? So,
I've heard of it. I'm not sure what it is.
yeah. So it's a bhakti oriented sampradaya, mostly in Maharashtra. So have you heard of Dabbawalas in Bombay? Dabbawalas is a very big network where they uh, take the carriages, tiffin boxes from houses and deliver to people in their office. So there is a very big, so-called unstructured, network in Bombay. So Dabbawalas, essentially what they do is they collect the tiffin box from the house and they deliver it at the office. So the food is home food and it is served hot. And it's a very big network. I mean, wherever you go in Mumbai, all across Mumbai, you have this service. And it is not like an enterprise, not like a corporate enterprise, but works very much efficiently more than that. So now that we know Swiggy, Zepto, and all this stuff, but this was the main, delivery system. So the beauty of Dabbawalas is they all belong to Varkari Sampradaya. So Varkari Sampradaya is around Pandharpur. Panduranga. Panduranga? Panduranga is one form of Krishna, Rukmini and Panduranga. So the main temple is at Pandharpur. Okay, so everything and anything they relate it to Vitthal. They call Panduranga to be Vithala. So Dabbawalas do it as a form of service. Okay, and this is Varkari Sampradaya. So again, they disseminate. I mean, they you know propagate their knowledge through bhajans. So they have a bhajana sampradaya. So they have a very specific way to perform bhajan. They have very specific kirtans, which is called as even kirtan shastra. That is called as kirtan shastra. That is totally in the older Marathi, which is also they are called as OVs and etc. So they have a very specific. So they have kirtan gurukulas. So as we have Shastra Gurukulas and Veda Gurukulas, they have Kirtan Gurukulas, where hundreds of people go study under a guru and know the Sampradaya, know the bhajans. And the beauty is that the bhajans are full of Vedanta. And again, that Vedanta is again a kind of a complementary knowledge source. So you find the same study, I mean, you find the same things, same concepts again in the Upanishads, again in the Upanishadic Sampradaya also. But this is again for a very specific sect of people. So as people think that, some of the Vedic, wisdom is restricted towards only a very small group of people in the society. But Varkari Sampradaya is one of the biggest, and most of them are, I mean, the Sampradaya itself has nothing to do with Brahmins. So it's totally independently, being managed by, who can be called as non-Brahmins, right? But the main point that we have to understand here is the content is the same. The content doesn't. It has the same intense Vedantic verses in it. So through bhajans, they actually disseminate that knowledge to masses and mass, right? They have a huge following, and I think even one of the achievements is even like even the missionaries were not able to penetrate this sect. So there are such. Again, there is something called as Naradiya Sampradaya. And again, if you come down south, you have different, we have a specific where, very localized versions of what you call uh, through bhajans or through kirtans. Again, the same knowledge, you find the same content there also. So whenever we think of Shastra, or the content of Shastra, we should not limit to only works which are authored in Sanskritam or like that. We should even consider everything, anything and everything. There are many things which are documented, like in local languages, many things are documented and many things are not documented. They are just given as a tradition, as a lineage, as a legacy to the next generations. So they are given like that. And some things cannot be documented. There are some kind of vidyas which are only to be initiated. Okay, so many cannot be documented also. And again, if you go down south, again in Tamil Nadu, you have something called a Siddha Sampradaya. So again, that has its lineage from Agastya, this is sage Agastya, and so on and so forth. So this is all about a brief this thing about. So coming to the core now, where do we belong in all this? Is the knowledge source clubbed as or classified as a darshana? Okay. So the word darshana, it's derived from the root verb dru. So dru means to experience, to see. Pashyati is the verb form of it. Pashyati means seeing, right? Drishyate, it's the no, what we call it as karmani prayoga, the indirect speech. You'll say drishyate. Okay. So what will you see? What will you experience is it is the tattvam, the essence of the whole. I mean, it is the essence of the whole cosmos. You can say the essence principally is similar, but is expressed in different ways. That is why you have these many darshanas. If the tattvam is same, why do we have 6 Astika darshanas and many more Nastika darshanas? Is because the way it is being defined, the path that is being set forth to achieve that essence or to experience that particular essence is differing. Okay, so it's like everyone say there is only one entity. Some say it is one entity that is all pervaded. Some say no, you have many entities. Some say yes, there is one entity that is very much superior, but there are other inferior entities under it. So they have a different way of expressing, but at the end, they all talk about few similar goals. Okay. So therefore, fundamentally, darshanas are means to experience that particular essence. So tattvam, so that particular tattva, uh, through which you can actually experience. Drishyate anena, tattvam anena. So through which you actually experience that particular essence, that is called as darshana. This darshana is again divided into two, astika and nastika. Okay. So Astika, the word Astika comes from the word Asti. Asti means that is there. Nasti means that which is not there. So derivatively, what do they mean is people who believe that there is even life after death. Asti paroloka. After death, there is another loka to which a jiva actually travels. So therefore, again after completing that janma in that particular loka, again maybe comebacks, kind of a thing. So who believe in this, they can be called as astikas, and who do not believe in life even after death, they are called as nastikas derivatively. Okay, but to classify, we need to define, because Bauddhas and Jainas also have a similar thing. Like they do have certain sects. I mean, Jainas definitely do have certain sects in Bauddha do have what you call speak about life even after death. So continuity, that this physical form of body is just one of the roles that it is playing. So that is why, and they don't come under the Astika tradition. So therefore, a refinement of definition is made to the Astika and Nastika thing, right? So therefore, if we have to define what is Astika, then Astika is that particular sect which accepts the authority of the Vedas. Okay, they accept the authority of the Vedas, and the Nastikas are they do not accept the authority of the Vedas. So essentially, this is it. So as yesterday we explored how do we approach Vedic wisdom, right? So one way of it is to say, okay, these are apaurusheyas. Vedic wisdom is apaurusheya. Apaurusheya is not written by a person, and it is experiential. It is a reflection of the experiential knowledge of the rishis. So therefore, we will use all our technology, that is all our methodology, to derive the right meaning, to interpret the right meaning from the Vedas. So their approach will be like, how do I understand the essence of this? In order to understand that essence, I will question. In order to understand the essence, I will reason. Okay? I will use logic. So therefore, your approach is with Shraddha towards the Vedic wisdom, and like a disciple, you wish to understand it. So it's more like you revere it a lot and you're trying to understand, and you accept that it is so complex. If you are not able to understand, it is your limitation and not the limitation of the source. Okay? But the Nastika tradition will be like they are uh, using all these methodologies, again, questioning and all that, believing fundamentally that whatever is said in the Vedas is not possible, it's not right. So the technique is the same, the methodology is the same, but the approach is what it differs. And interestingly, all these methodologies again have their seeds in Astika darshan, Astika tradition. The Nastika tradition takes that, and Nastika tradition develops it. That is the beauty here. So they take reasoning, debating methodologies from the Nyaya, from the Astika tradition, and they develop it in such a way that the Bauddha traditions and the Jaina traditions, in later stages, again, the Astika tradition takes this developed technology, methodology, and again refutes it and further develops it a lot. So that is how if you see the evolution, the whole evolution of Shastric methodology has been. So that is the beauty. So essentially, um, uh, and the approach is very much different. For them, the premise is the Vedic wisdom is not right. So therefore, I will use that questioning, I'll use reasoning, I'll use all this logical, critical thinking and all that stuff to prove that it is wrong. And again, here they say, no, we will prove it right. So that is how it has been. So historically, the Jainas were confronted by Kumarila uh, mainly, primarily, and the Bauddhas were confronted by Adi Shankaracharya. And they lost their what you call dominance after these stalwarts have worked in the period, right? So Kumarila Bhatta, he belonged to the Mimamsa school, and Adi Shankaracharya, he has re-established the Advaita Parampara. So this is how the whole thing is. So this is the classification of the darshanas. So we have 6 Astika darshanas, and there are many Nastika darshanas, but they can be classified into 3 predominantly. So what are the 6? They are Nyāya-Vaiśeṣika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva-mīmāmsa and Uttara-mīmāmsa are the Astika darshanas. And the Nastika darshanas are Jaina, Bauddha and Charvaka. Okay. So what is the commonality among these Astika darshanas is one, that they accept the Vedic authority of the uh, authority of Vedas. And here, whenever I say it is Veda, Vedic wisdom, it doesn't confine to the 4 Vedas. When we are talking about Vedic wisdom, Veda, Smriti, that is Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Itihasa, all come together. Okay. All are, considered to be, there is a hierarchy, even though the Veda are they prevail over everything. But yes, definitely all the others are also considered in the same manner. So Smriti, Purana, Itihasa are also considered to be. So whenever I say Vedic wisdom, all these things come together. So essentially, what are the commonalities among these 6 darshanas is they accept, one, the authority of the Vedas, 2, the 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, in some way or the other, even though their definitions differ. For Dharma, what is Dharma? Nyāya-Shastra has a different definition. What is Dharma? Mimamsa says what it to be different. Again, Vedanta has many definitions to it. Similarly, but the concept of Dharma is definitely common. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And Moksha being the primary or the achievable, the main goal, Purushartha. That why is this life? What is it that you have to achieve or strive towards achieving? Everyone will have the same thing, that it is moksha that everyone has to achieve, try to achieve. It's not that easy. And all these darshanas aim at saying that what is the purpose of this darshana is to attain moksha. So to show the path towards achieving moksha. Bound by dharma, dharma, artha and kama. So artha and kama bound by dharma. So if you see even the design, dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So dharma, artha and kama are in between, sandwiched between dharma and moksha. So dharma and artha and kama are bound by dharma. So that itself will lead towards your journey towards the moksha, right? And again, moksha is equal to, it's different from each darshana. The definition of moksha is different. It's not the same. And that is why we have six darshanas. If not, you can actually only have one darshana. So therefore, and the other way of looking it is, so normally from a very mundane level, if we see, you can easily accuse it to be contradictory. So these six darshanas are contradictory in nature, one from the other. Some is saying this, some is saying that. And how can this be? But for us, from the tradition, if you see, they are complementary. Because some darshanas have a very specific, so we have this, now in the pedagogy, normally this is very much prevalently used, leading the student from the known to the unknown. So you start something, a conversation where the student can actually relate to, and then lead him to the main topic, which is more intense or complex in nature, and try to explore or explain that particular topic. Even our tradition organically is designed such way, the tradition. So everyone they used to start their journey of Shastra with Nyāya-Shastra, Tarkashastra, and gradually go to Vedanta. So first the journey would be starting with Nyaya and Vaiseshika. Then in between there will be Sankhya and Yoga, because that is praxis, right? Yoga has a lot of praxis. It is practice that is needed to understand or experience that higher knowledge. Then you have discipline in your life brought in by karmanusthana, which is again explained in Mimamsa. Then gradually, and in Mimamsa and Yoga, I mean Nyaya and Vaiseshika, you are introduced to logic and critical thinking. So higher level of logic, intermediary level of logic, and etc. Then after Mimamsa, they used to study Vedanta, where a lot of maturity was needed. Not only that, you need to have sadhana, you need to have karmanusthana, you need to have better understanding of logic and interpretation techniques, methodologies, and all that stuff. And then only you could understand Vedanta, digest Vedanta. So this is a very complementary approach from the tradition. If you see all the six darshanas, they go hand in hand. Even though they differ, they refute one another. So you see that Nayayikas, they say whatever, some a particular topic that Mimamsa is wrong. Or, the Mimamsa say that Nayayikas, they don't even know some of the basics, and above all, Vedanta says, you are all dumb. You may see such approaches, but that was never so vehemently like they had swords against each others and they used to kill. It was more of an intellectual exercise to see to the test of validation which will prevail. So at the end, experience is something that you cannot deny, right? So how to achieve that experience which is very high in nature? So each and everything, the questioning, the refuting, all these things, all the rebuttals over rebuttals, and all this stuff is that intellectual exercise with scaffolded by the what you call the karmanusthana and all that stuff, sadhana. Then whatever prevails used to prevail. So everyone definitely after a point of time who had all this thing, all this allied, everything, what we call it as saparikara. So it has all the, he has all that, he has all the tools to experience that higher knowledge. So once at that stage, they said this will prevail. So that is how the whole, tradition has evolved, where you revere sannyasis a lot. Why? It is because sannyasis, they are the embodiment of the Upanishadic knowledge, of the Vedantic knowledge. So you say that, that is why they are revered the most, because of the knowledge that they represent. So that is how the tradition has been. So in this again, we have to zoom down to, and okay, Bauddhas, they have different four kinds of other schools, Mahayana, Hinayana. Essentially, it's two types again, have two again classifications and all that stuff. And then Sankhya, Jainas, they too, essentially they have again Shvetambara, Digambara, so have different sects, but their doctrine is similar at times. And Charvaka definitely, which is like it's true materialism, right? Materialistic approach towards the and at times it may lead to it's more about sensual pleasures and how to achieve that, not beyond that. Not setting a higher goal of life, but mainly evolving around the sensual pleasures. So that is the this thing of Charvaka. Again, zooming down to Tarkashastra. So what is the difference? I mean, where does this again? So in all that big, chunk of, the whole sea of knowledge, Darshanas is the place. Again in Darshanas, where does Tarkashastra fit in? It fits into the two Darshanas called as Nyāya and Vaiśeṣika. Okay, in the Astika Darshanas, there are two. 6. Among those 6, there are 2, which is Nyaya. One is Nyaya, and the other one is Vaiseshika. And clubbed together is what now we have the tradition called as Tarka or Nyāya, which we call it as, right? So now whatever tradition is now being followed, whatever the works that we are actually studying in the tradition, they all belong to the amalgamation of both. So now we don't have a pure Nyaya tradition and pure Vaiseshika tradition. So what is the commonality among these both is that it is what you call it deals with the materialistic world a lot. Okay, materialistic world. That is, Vaiseshika deals with the world that we experience day to day, and it helps us to understand the nature of it. So, what are the things that we experience? We experience elements related to Panchamahabhutas. How do you experience? There are entities that as you yourself, there is something else called as mind. There are sensory organs. How do all these things work? How to know them? Okay. The approach of inquiry, how to start? How do you actually understand the world? Is there a method to understand it? Is there a method to actually uh, structureize the approach of understanding? Right? So if you have to understand, you have to be clear about. So many a times, if you start actually trying to explain what you know about the world, it will be very vague. Okay, you think something, you experience something, but to put it out in words, you don't find the right method. So if you put out very even yesterday we saw that, right? If you put out something, it seems to be very much perfect in the initial stage, but afterwards, if you keep on dissecting that, you find that yes, I also don't know how to actually express this. But there will be elements that you experience, but you're not able to express. So how to approach all this, right? So these things are inherently designed, embedded into these Shastras. The Shastras are written in such a way that they will give you this ability to think structurally, to define structurally, to understand structurally, without saying that, see, this is the methodology. So here, the method is embedded into the design of the Shastra. So therefore, it will be very hard for you to see that this is method, this is concept, this is praxis kind of a approach. It is embedded inherently. Over a period of time, after being trained in that, you also will you'll also be functioning in such a way. When you introspect and see, where am I getting this? Then you understand, oh, the Shastra itself is like this. So the approach of Shastra itself is so structurally designed that you yourself will start structurally thinking, structurally, doing everything because of the, effect of that. It is all the effect of that particular approach, right? So Nyaya deals a lot with logic, logic debates, types of debates and etc. Vaiseshika deals a lot with defining the world that we experience, classification, definitions, and all that stuff. So it's more relatable. I mean, something like physics and chemistry, and Nyaya is more about methodology. See, the logical methodologies and all that stuff. Over a period of time, elements from both were taken, and a few fundamental texts were authored, where both were used. The methodology and the understanding of the materialistic world, both were combined together. And one such fundamental text is Tarkasangraha. So written around 17th or 18th century by a Andhra scholar called Annambhaṭṭa. So where he starts with the definition of, classification of the whole cosmos, and so on, defining each and every element in that, and structurally then going towards the inference, logic, and all these things together. So making it a whole, this thing. So this is the brief this thing. So we'll be focusing on one text which is called as Tarkasangraha. Okay. I think this will suffice for now. Okay.
Guruji, I had a question.
Yeah.
A tradition like the Shakta tradition, under which, like, does it fall under a Darshana? Under which Darshana would it primarily fall under?
Which Shakta?
Mm.
So yeah, Shakta is one, up it is something related to the sadhana part, right? The karma anusthana. So you can relate, but these traditions like Shakta, Ganapatya, Saura, and all these things have emerged afterwards, and they definitely have relation. If you see in the Shakta tradition, you have the Sri Vidya Parampara. Sri Vidya
Right.
means you do this Shri Chakra Archana and etc. So anything and everything related to the Shri Chakra Archana, Shri Chakra concept. So that is one of the sophisticated technology developed to experience the Vedantic what you call experience, which you call it as the Parabrahma experience.
Okay.
So this is technology that they have developed. So it has its foundationally it is based in Vedanta, but the approach is from the Mimamsak approach. Not Mimamsak, yeah, that's essentially how to achieve that Advaitic experience through Karmanushtana. That is where the Shakta tradition comes in together.
Okay.
So everything and anything, they are aimed towards the Vedantic experience. But they don't start their journey right away there because it is not that easy, right? So
Okay.
therefore, you need to start with which you can actually relate. So similarly, even Nyaya also talks about moksha. But the approach starts where to understand the world which is around you.
Okay.
So something which you can do, you can offer, which is
Okay.
practical in nature. So this is an amalgamation. Afterwards, these have been developed as a tradition to themselves, which they don't fall under any darshana tradition. But they derive the essence of these darshanas when and where, some elements are from yoga, some elements are from Mimamsa, some elements are from Vedanta. In order to structure their shastras, they again use Nyāya-Vaiśeṣika. So it's a whole different this thing altogether.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Oh,
Thank you. Namaste.
namaste.